What's going on, guys? Mr. Hunter here. Today we are in our reading assignment and we're starting the week off with week 11, day number 1. All right, I know it's Wednesday, but we're going to start off with day number 1 and we're going to get going here. So you should have your pencil. Make sure you write your name at the top of the page and don't look at anything just yet because I want to ask you guys, all right? So ask you guys a question. So put your pencils down. You got your name on your page, pencils down. Oh, one more thing. Name on the paper. I was grading a lot of papers, so many papers, and I just saw the names. Make sure you put your name on the paper all the time so I know exactly what day to grade and put this in. All right, so we're looking at week 11, day number 1, and we are going to talk about fantasy and reality. Now, I know some of you are saying, we've already talked about fantasy and reality, Mr. Hunter. Jeremiah, I know you're looking at me. Sam, I know you're like, what are we doing? Eliana, Dylan, you guys are smiling at me right now, but you're probably thinking the same thing. Well, we are doing it again. We're doing more review because we didn't learn everything. So we're going to keep learning. All right. So the difference between telling what is make-believe and what can really happen is called fantasy and reality. Make-believe is just another way of saying fantasy. And what can really happen is another way of saying, right, you got it? Reality. All right. So when we have those things happening, we're going to look at this story. All right. But before we look at the story, I want you guys to think of something. What is something that is fantasy and what is something that's reality? And it could be anything, something in your room, a book you read, anything. All right. I want to give you one. All right. Birds can fly in the sky. That I don't know if that's a bird that's like swimming. I'm sorry. Birds can fly in the sky. So they have their wings. They're flapping like that. What is this? That's really happened. That's reality. A bird can fly over the moon. Do you think that's really going to happen? No, I don't think a bird can even breathe in space because guess what? There's no oxygen. Okay, you need air, and the bird can't go that high in the sky. So a bird flying over top of the sky, that's reality. A bird flying over the moon, that's fantasy or make believe. All right. So I want you guys to think of a scenario, think of some things. You guys are very creative. I know you can come up with it. All right. So what we're going to do, that is something that was fantastical that I just said. But we're going to look at this story. And the first thing we have to do each time is we have to read the instructions. So read them out loud. We'll read them together. It says, read the story and ask yourself, what is make believe and what can happen? So just by looking at the picture, what do we notice? Take a look at the picture and see what you notice. Do this each time. You read the directions, look at the picture and see what you notice before anything else. Then we're going to start reading. All right. So we're going to read the story and we're going to go sentence by sentence. And I want you to think if something could really happen or if it's reality. All right. Or if it's make believe. I'm sorry. Fantasy. So it was just about midnight. Okay. We're off to a good start. The moon was full and bright. Now we'll stop right there. Does that sound like fantasy or reality? The moon was full and bright. When you go to sleep at nighttime and you see it gets dark outside, what happens with the moon? It gets full, it gets bright. So that sounds like it's reality. All right, let's keep going. The people on the farm were asleep. That sounds pretty true. But the pigs were awake. Can pigs be awake at night? I think we're doing good so far. All right, so let's keep going. Papa Pig put on his cowboy hat. Wait a minute. They just said that the Papa Pig put on his cowboy hat. Does that sound like fantasy or reality? All right, we'll keep going. If you want, when we're reading, if you want to read each sentence, you can put a R, a little small R, next to something that you think is reality. You can put a little F for something that you think is fantasy. All right. So the Papa Pig put on his cowboy hat. All right, let's keep reading. He pulled on his boots too. He had a hat, a cowboy hat, and boots. Okay. Mama Pig put on her wig. I see you guys smiling and laughing now. We got to finish the story though. We got to know what happens. She snapped on her beads. Crickets rubbed their wings. They played a happy tune. And Papa Pig took Mama Pig's hand. They danced in the light of the moon. Now, guys, that story, it started off normal, but it got a little interesting near the end, wouldn't you say? Okay, so I want you to read it again. And if you want, you can put a little F, like I said, for fantasy. And then you can put a R, small r, for reality. Once you finish reading, and I need you to read it again, so don't just skip. Read it again and go through it. I'm going to go down to the next part where the questions are, and I'm going to answer the questions. But you should pause this video right now and go back and read. All right, so you guys are finished reading. You can keep going here. It says, number 1, this is the fill in the circle next to the correct answer part. Number 1, what in the story can really happen? A, pigs can dance. B, the moon can be full and bright. Or C, pigs like to wear boots. You have to answer. Number 2, what in the story is make-believe? A, a pig wears a wig. B, crickets rub their wings. Or C, people live on a farm. And number 3, what is the best way to describe the story? A, it is a true story. B, it is a silly story. Or C, it is a news story. And then last but not least, you have a little bit more work to do at the bottom. It says sight words. You're going to write the letters on the lines to spell the word were. You see how it's spelled, but they give you different ways of spelling it down at the bottom. Fill in the correct one, okay? I'm going to see if you do it correctly, and you're going to get marked per letter, all right? Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow for the Mara story.